Can we talk about Conor Gallagher, lads? He's heavily linked with a move away from Chelsea, despite being arguably one of the 3 best Chelsea players this season.
No, the best.
Yeah, him or Palmer?
Palmer's been very good. Yeah, second best.
What are you making of that, lads?
Absolutely mental. And this is the thing, like, Josh, you keep saying this to me. It's like, this is the price we're going to have to pay if we want Osimhen. Guarantee you now, we get rid of Conor Gallagher and we still won't get Osimhen. If we get rid of Conor Gallagher, right, bearing in mind, we've had injury problems, and it's not like, I'm not saying they haven't had them in the past, but Man United, they got injury problems at the moment, but it's not a massively consistent theme going back 5 years. For Chelsea, it is. Every single year for the last, since we won the Champions League, we've been ravished by injuries, right? At the moment, if you lose Conor Gallagher out of this team, answer me the question, does he need replacing? Because I would say he definitely does. So then, what are we doing? Why are we going to go and sell him to then spend 60 million on someone who, if we're going on our track record, we're not going to get it right, and we're not going to get someone in that does have the ability to play to the level Conor Gallagher's been playing at this season?
I think Lavia was the replacement.
He was, but he's injured all the time. He came back, he did half hour, now he's back injured.
But you've got loads of midfielders though, haven't you?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. We've got Caicedo, Enzo, Lavia. Now, I'm sure they thought that would have been our 3. But so far this season, Caicedo's the only one that hasn't really had his injury. He's missed a couple of games, but Enzo's had injury problems and missed stints, and Lavia's been out for the whole season, came back, did half hour, went out injured again. Ugochukwu, he's a backup midfielder. He's been injured for more than half of the season so far. So then when you look at it, okay, we got guys that are out on loan and whatnot, but also we can't then take away the emphasis on how important it is when you got a club in transition like Chelsea at the minute, right? What I think you're best served doing is clinging on to every single part of that club that was there before the Bowley ownership, because they knew the successful times. They knew how Chelsea was supposed to be run and was run, and they know what the fans expect, and they've grown up around Cobham. Conor Gallagher is such a pivotal part to that, because at the moment, Reece James is injured. He's not in the team. So we've got no identity in that team, as in homegrown players that can really, show what this Chelsea side need to be trying to get back to. And Conor Gallagher's the one. And it's not just that, it's on his performances. 35 million for him is absolutely fucking mental.
The difference between the way that we see things as Chelsea fans and the way that Todd Bowley looks at Cobham and the academy is this. He looks at that and goes, dollar signs. We look at it and go, that's the heart of our club. And that is as simple as that. He looks at that and think, that is the best way I can do the most dirty accounting practices possible to get cash in as quickly as I possibly can to then fund the business that I want to do, because I want to do some wheeler dealing. I want to do some, fun deals. I want to get a 17-year-old Brazil.
Okay, so mate, fair play, right? It's not that I like it, but if you look at it as dollar signs, right, is Conor Gallagher just £35 million worth of dollar signs?
No, definitely not.
Someone offered him 40, someone offered 45 million for him in the summer. And they're saying now, 35 million, something like that. We've just sold Mason Mount for 56 million, whatever it was. And actually,
I saw 40 million.
Actually, I looked at the Mason Mount
Actually,
one.
a good bit of business.
I looked at the Mason Mount one, and before a ball was kicked from Mason Mount, and I looked at that and I went, do you know what? For that sort of money, if he wanted to go, whatever. If we sell Conor Gallagher for 35 million, man, I can't be the only one that thinks this. It's mental.
There's also something else that seems mental about this to me. Who you're selling him to? Your rivals. Like, is it Spurs who's heavily linked with him? Like, the last thing you want to do.
They're not going to sell him to us, though.
No. Do you know what? I think it is, and I think this is a sign of the way that the Premier League is going to go now.
What do you think? You think what is?
What? This is the way that it's going to go. I think he will go to Spurs. I think this is the way that it's going to go. The reason why is, look at what Man City did. They sold their best academy product to a Premier League rival. They might not see us as a title challenging rival, but it's still in the Premier League. Cole Palmer, they let him go to us. We're looking at the academy now and we're going, right, well, we can't offload them to the Bundesliga. We can't offload them to Serie A because they won't be able to pay the wages. They won't be able to pay the fees that we're looking at. So we're going to have to do trading within the Premier League. That's the way that the Premier League is going to go now. And that won't just be a Chelsea thing. That will be...
Nunes.
It will be a City thing. It will have to be a Man United thing, an Arsenal thing. That's the only way it's going to go now.
It already is.
If it's
that's what I was just about to say. But that's what I was just about to say. In like response to what you said, Brian. Why does the buck have to stop at us? They sold them Havertz. They sold Mount to Man United. They always sold players to Arsenal.
You're talking about players selling, people selling players between teams. Yeah, that has happened before. But you don't sell a homegrown player who is currently one of your best performing players
in a struggling team
to your arch rivals. Like,
who were better than
you? The only time I've seen, like, even you can't even say Van Persie's him because he wasn't homegrown. But like, even that was a fucking huge error.
But mate, we go on about the Cole Palmer thing. We talk about the Cole Palmer thing. Man City won the treble last season.
Yeah, it's a different
Cole Palmer, a young kid, turned around to Pep and said, "No, like I want first team football now," and almost stood up to the man that won them the treble. And Pep said, "All right, fair enough. If you think you're best served in someone else's hands, that's fair enough." That's.
And by the way, that was a massive mistake.
Yeah,
like in my opinion.
Yeah, and we're benefiting from it now. So why can't we see
it? Do you think it was? Do you think City fans are looking at Cole Palmer and going, he would really improve us right now?
The only reason that that's even a debate is because of the embarrassment of riches that Manchester City have. But if you're asking me honestly, do I think Cole Palmer would have delivered more to Manchester City than Doku, who was brought in? The answer would be fuck yeah.
Do you think so?
Absolutely, not a doubt in my mind. I think Doku is a good player. I think Cole Palmer is infinitely more talented than him.
Can I ask a question? Chelsea get rid of Conor Gallagher in January. What is our midfield three then?
It's a double pivot with a 10. Like you want Nkunku or Cole Palmer or Carney or any of those. In fact, a lot of the Chelsea players and the people that are leaking information out are saying that they fancy Carney more than they fancy Conor Gallagher.
You were saying earlier, Joey, that you think the midfield three would be Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo.
I think those are the three that you choose from in your double pivots. Like Poch plays with a double pivot and he wants a very attacking, mobile, aggressive presser in the number 10 position. That's what he wants, right? So, Conor Gallagher has been doing that role absolutely adequately, but we've got a lot of other players in the squad, let alone Santos coming in, let alone Caicedo on loan as well. Like,
I've seen a great stat about Conor Gallagher though, that, and I'm not necessarily his biggest fan, but I rated him this season, and it's how well-rounded he is. He's the only player, and I can't remember the exact stat of 20 challenges in the box, 28 attempts at goal, 20 assists, 20 good through balls. It was a load of different stats that show he's arguably the most well-rounded midfielder in the Premier League. That's
what I was going to say though. He's like a handyman, so I don't think he's exceptional at any one thing.
Agreed.
But he can do everything. He just does a little bit of everything very well. And unfortunately, that's what we need right now. We need that.
Yeah, but not just you, Newcastle, and this is what Arsenal. This is what breaks my heart about it, right? You'll remember this conversation we had in the summer. You said to me, it's such a shame about Mount because I know he'll go there and be brilliant. And I went, I don't think he will. I can tell you now, wherever Conor Gallagher goes, he'll be so important for the team he goes to. He'll be a first team starter for him. He'll do so well.
Never injured. Never injured. Plays every game.
I think he'd be a first team starter for Spurs.
I don't think so. I think we're getting him as a squad player to rotate. Personally.
It's a lot of money though, isn't it? 40 million plus for that.
I don't know, man. Nowadays,
team starter for Newcastle.
Nowadays, 40 million quid for an England international, 22, 23 years old.
We paid 40 for Maddison and everyone said it was flipping cheap.
Mate, and he can come in, he stays fit, he can play all across the midfield. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of teams who've been playing over the last week or two who would have started Gallagher because of injuries. We're talking about every team is decimated with injuries right now.
But the thing is, and I know I'm talking about, we actually need it because Basuma and Sarr have gone now. They're gone. So the players
you need him now. You need him now.
Højbjerg, who's linked to a move. We don't even play him much. Skip. We need Conor Gallagher. So whatever it takes to get that over the line, we need to pull out that Harry Kane money and get him in. But I just don't think Chelsea want to sell to us.
The thing is, right, is look, Joey and I are both on the same plane here. I do not want Conor Gallagher to go at all. I think he's the heart of our club. But the fact of the matter is, he wasn't in May.
Finish your sentence.
No.
The fact of the matter is what?
The fact of the matter is that you've got to take the emotion and the passion out of the way that we look at our club and go, what are the boards and the owners going to do? They don't give a fuck about the academy. They couldn't care less about the players or where they come from. All they care about is making money to be able.
Should they not care about the fans? No, should they not rightly see? They didn't care. I know it wasn't these owners, but if owners didn't care about the fans, the Super League wouldn't have been cancelled. Do they not say, mate, this is a big thing amongst the Chelsea fan base?
Mount was a big thing.
No, it wasn't. This is bigger. This is bigger.
Why is Mount any different? How is Mount any different?
Mount didn't want to stay. Mount didn't. I'm not even a Chelsea fan.
Mount didn't want to stay, and Mount wasn't pulling out trees just before he left. Mount wasn't even getting in the team. Mount wasn't performing as one of the ones. And Mount, it was very clear from people around the player that Mount didn't want to stay. Mount's at the Grand Prix or whatever it is, smirking when he's being asked about whether he's going to Man United. Conor Gallagher is pulling pulling up his sleeves and getting the business done for Chelsea when we need him.
Things do change in football. I think, look, when you sign Lavia, Caicedo, all of these players, I don't think he was in the long-term plan of Chelsea.
No, you're right.
They wanted to get rid of him in summer. They wanted to get rid of him in
He wasn't in the long-term
now.
Huh?
Should he be now, though?
Yes.
He wasn't. He wasn't.
I don't know.
He wasn't in the long-term plan. But things changed. When Harry Kane was getting sent out on loan left, right and centre, he wasn't in the long-term plan of Tottenham.
But that was early in the career. I get what you're saying, but my only thing is, once all those players do become fit again, all of those players, Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez starts getting to where once they're there and they're clicking, you lot might be looking back saying,
we might need him. We might be, but
don't need him. It's a new era now.
We might be, but what do we want to gamble on? Do we want to gamble on what could happen? Which, as a Chelsea fan, we've been conditioned the last 2 years of thinking, but when it comes good, it's not fucking coming good. So then we've got to go at the minute. Who is performing? Who can we rely on? Who week in, week out is the one person? Then we're watching. I'm going to games. I'm watching it all the time. Who week in, week out is the one person that I go, do you know what? I can really rely on you. That's him.
Is it full more class with him? Is it full more class?
I think it's class.
Okay.
Do we not? I mean, Josh, your attitude is obscure because I understand you're explaining the logic behind what.
Yeah, I'm not saying I want that. I'm not saying I agree.
You don't seem as outraged by it, and maybe that's because you're expecting it, right? But to sell one of your best players to your rivals, to me, is the opposite of good business. And since Todd Boehly came in, there's been a lot of questionable things happened. But for me, this is one of the most this guy doesn't have a fucking clue what he's doing. If he allows this to happen, I'm staggered.
But also, it's not just that. It's what does it say to them about the manager and about the managers saying things?
Potter said he wants to keep them.
The problem with Todd Boehly, when he came in, he was playing Football Manager like everyone speaks. Problem is, you don't know anything about football. So that's fine. You appoint Mauricio Pochettino, you give him the reins. Okay, you get people in the background there. But Mauricio Pochettino, and even he has said it in his words now, but almost in his actions, he's basically told you at every opportunity, every time I have the option to pick this boy, I will pick him. And for that reason, do you know what? I think Ian Matson's a class player. But if we sell him, I'm not going to react in this way. Trevor Chalobah's a player I love. But if we sell him, I'm not going to react in this way. But if we sell Conor Gallagher, you immediately disrespect the fans, the manager who's picked in, time out, and you very clearly make a statement on, I don't really care what the fans are thinking here and what the manager's thinking here. We're running this as a business. And ultimately, when clubs are purely run as businesses, it doesn't normally go that well for them.
What it tells me, if you sell Conor Gallagher, is you're giving up on this season.
Yeah.
That's what it tells me. If you're writing this season off, because right now, if you sell Gallagher in January, you get so much worse.
Exactly.
That's the main thing.
That cup final that I think we're going to get to after we beat Middlesbrough in the semi-finals, that cup final, that trip to Wembley, if Gallagher's not in the team for it, I'll make us a lot weaker.
But what does that tell the fans? That would be what upsets me if I was in your position, Josh. As a fan, I'd be like, well, hang on, I've been turning up to these games all season.
Exactly.
I've been watching this guy who's the only one who, it feels like, I've got to be honest, I don't watch Enzo Fernandez all week. I don't watch Caicedo every week. Gallagher's the one who runs for that badge.
Yeah.
If you get rid of him in January, as you say, for a pittance, for an England international.
Joey said it right as well, is that he wanted to be there. He desperately wants a new contract. He wants to carry on playing for Chelsea. And that is the ultimate difference. As Chelsea fans, we just want players that are going to fight for the badge. And we've had 12 months of players that were half out the door, that were desperate to leave, that were disrespecting us as a fan base and disrespecting the club. And now we've got a guy that is club captain at the moment with Reece James injured. He's given it all on the pitch. He's putting everything he possibly can and desperately trying to get a new contract. And we're basically giving two fingers up and saying, fuck off to Spurs.
Yeah, but you know what? There's not a lot of room for sentiment in football in 2024, guys, because the reality is they are trying to get around financial fair play rules, aren't they? And if they can get 40 to 50 million, that's pure profit for the balance sheet. That's just the reality of the situation. And you need other players.
The last thing I want to say on Gallagher is I do think that it's a decision that's been made at the start of the season, and that's why it looks so mental to happen now. But for them to be in this situation shows, I just think the more we see Todd Boehly make decisions, the more questionable it becomes of this guy's a moron. So
and
go on.
Sometimes I think the best thing you can do is run with the play, see how things are going and go, oh, do you know what? Actually, it's working out all right. We've bantered Man United quite a few times sort of thing, but actually what you can say, if there is a positive to take from things, is you look at the likes of Johnny Evans, for example. You look at the likes of the fact that Lindelof's now being offered a new contract. Now, you might not agree with it, but what they are doing there is sort of going, saying, do you know what? You guys are actually doing what we're asking you to do. And because of that, we're not going to be so stubborn in our ownership. I know, of course, financial fair play changes things, but we're going to look at how things are playing out and work in job and be rather than just being, right, we've put that in place at the start of the season, so it's happening.
What really annoys me is that the recruitment people and the people that are making the decisions on transfers care so much about the data and like stats and performances and that sort of thing. If you look at the data, Conor Gallagher is the best midfielder that we have at the club. Mm-hmm. And so it can't just be the sort of incomings that you look at the data and judge whether someone's good or not. You have to look at it at the players that you have. And he just is demonstrating that he is quality, and it means so much to the fans. So it's just going to be a very, very bad deal.